right? But they have the very same origin. So whenever I think about my name, I say, oh, it's to remind me that we are all blessed. Okay. Now, we're going to be starting today with the chapter 1 of the gospel. And what I did, because I know it is cyclical, this study here and the lectures here, so I would try to bring to this conversation elements that is not inside the gospel, but it's going to be helping us to understand better why we say that Jesus did not come to destroy the law. What is this law that we talk about, right? Is it the Ten Commandments? Is it the Italian law, right? Is it at the time he's talking about what we say that what is a Torah in Hebrew? We're going to be talking about what is the difference between a Torah and Talmud, right? And what's the name of the verbal part of it, so that we can understand the historical and linguistic background. And we are going to also be analyzing what was the Jewish community of that time, because we cannot just summarize or just put the word Jewish to different kind of groups, because we're going to be reducing, and when we reduce, we are talking about the stereotypes, and when we're talking about the stereotypes, we're talking about prejudice as well, right? So why do the Pharisees, they have that connotation? Which are other groups that exist? Okay. So also we are going to be understanding the passage that says that everything's going to be changed and everything's going to be reviewed at the least iota. Where is iota coming from? Okay. And I'm going to be relating the gospel with the Spirit's book and gospel excerpts as well, so that we can say why the title is Revelations. And I will start just by saying that we have three big revelations that is already there, because it's in the gospel, right? Moses, Christ, and Spiritism. However, when you go to the Spirit's book, everything is made through revelations, not only three big revelations. Because if you say, oh, what a pity, because has already passed three revelations. So in my generation, there is no revelation. So I will be here like 6 to 7 to 8 years. What happened? I'd like to see a revelation, right? So what kind of revelations you're talking about in Spiritism? It's not only the phenomenal revelation, almost Hollywoodian revelations that are in on screen, okay? So let's see if I do it. Yeah. Now in the Spirit's book, I'm going to be starting with the Spirit's book, then to go to the Gospel. We have this question here on what is the doctrine of reincarnation based. It's a long answer, but I just put the very first part of the answer in 2 lines. So the doctrine of reincarnation, the answer is very simple: on the justice of God and revelation. So everything that you're going to be studying, the 5 books and the secondary literature, in which we have all books of Francisco's and Divaldo, etc., they are a couple of revelations, right? Andrea Luiz revelations, Emmanuel's revelations. So Paul, right? Saul, Paul, revelation. So there are lots of revelations, not only just to think that there were 3, and poor us that we'll no longer see a revelation, right? But I just start at my starting point here because there were revelations. And then so that we can see ourselves in time, uh, when you go to the Bible and you see what's the time of Abraham or Moses and David, they don't have so much precision as we do now because of scientific approach. But we are 2,000 and a couple of years after Jesus Christ. But if I go 2,000, a couple of years before Jesus Christ, exactly going backwards, we're going to go to Abraham. Okay? And in the Bible, they say that the creation of the world was 4,000 years ago. Before, it's not, it's far more backwards. But at that time, the notion of time was not as we have now. We know that because if we go to Canada, our closest reality here, or to Mexico, we have human traces of the year 10,000 before Jesus Christ, 6,000 before. It means that 5 times more than we have lived after Jesus Christ, right? But at that time, allegorically, the further that they can go was, oh, long time ago, 4,000, which was the creation, 2,000 was Abraham, right? 1,500 was Moses. 1,500, we are being discovered here in Americas, right? So just going backwards, like mirroring, it is Moses in Mount Sinai, and we are being discovered here, right? And then we have David, etc. This is just for us to place ourselves. And one thing that's very important for us to know is we refer before Christ and after Christ, or Annus Domini, right? But you're going to see that in the Bible, the original Torah, right? They are always referring to common era, this one here, and before common era, right? This is the Jewish terminology that I've kept in some of the paragraphs here, okay? Now, I'm going to talk about 5 groups so that we can see how diverse the community was when Jesus arrived. And I'm not talking Romans, I'm not talking about Greece, I'm not talking about invasion from the Babylons, from the Assyrians, and other communities that were intermingled. But why I'm going to be talking about them, because which law we are talking about when Jesus says, I'm not against the law. Okay? Now, there is a group here, the Pharisees, right? This, in Greek, it is the separate ones. So, by the very translation, means that we are not everybody, right? We are somehow different. Things that I like you to keep in mind is they are the group that they have a passive resistance towards the dominators, which is Rome and Greece. Rome with military system and all the expansion, and Greece with all language, philosophy, art, taste. They offer resistance. They were not in favor of, because most of the time we get the idea that the Pharisees, they were the bad ones. Right? Jesus was talking to a Pharisee. We think, oh, this is the bad guy in the film, right? But they offered resistance to the status quo, right? Status quo there. Now, they devoted to the Torah. We're going to be talking about the Torah and the strict adherence to the interpretation. I'm talking about 150 years before Common Era. So for them, the Torah, the book, was very important, and they were strict in interpreting that, okay? But they also respect an oral tradition, because not everything has been written at once. There are lots of things that for thousands of years have been passed verbally, okay? They believed in there will be a Messiah coming. They believed in resurrections. They believe in free will. They believe in angels and demons, right? Like evil and good spirits, okay? So it was their belief system, right? They fasted twice a week. So 2 days a week, they didn't eat anything. And they washed ritually, right? Not only washing their hands, but also there was a ritual wash for example, women that when they are in their period, right? If they can participate, not participate, if they can be together, not together, etc. So they have a ritual thing here. The very important the aspect of the rituality, because with the spiritism, most of the rituality is going to be sort of demolished in terms of, right? They prayed 7 hours daily. Oh God! Could you imagine you pray? Right, you work 8 to 10, but you pray 7 hours. So how they have time a lot to pray, right? But this is the idea what I do with my time at that time, right? And they were very popular in terms of political division. They were not hated by everybody. They were very popular, the Pharisees, because they offer resistance to the Roman and Greek, right? They had the 10% contribution on the revenue to the temple. How many are there at that time? It is calculated now. There's like 60,000. So it's like a small city in our countries in Latin America, right? 60,000. But that was the group here, and they disappeared, but not their ideology, not their theology. They disappeared when the second temple was demolished. There were 2 demolitions, right? The first temple was demolished before the Common Era, 586, when the Nebuchadnezzar from Babylon invade, and the second time that the temple is demolished was after Jesus Christ, and after Jesus Christ's death, the year 70. Okay? Why is this important to say? Because at that time, synagogue was a school, was not for a religious purpose. It was a regular school. Being the two temples destroyed, synagogue assumed and got the position of religious teachings as well, and practice and ritual. Okay? But there was a separation there. Now, the other one, the Sadducees, right? This name comes from the fact that Solomon, the King Solomon, he has as a highest priest Sadak. So they were followers of Sadak, the Sadducees. And what's the difference here? These guys here, they were conservative. They were very wealthy. They were from the aristocratic party. They were the ones that determined how much you have to pay. So they determined the 10%. The other ones didn't determine, they just paid. Not necessarily they paid. They set the rule, but not necessarily they follow. Right? And the society, the authority of the society was the Synedrium, the council. There are 71 members, and most of the Synedrium was made of them. And they fully support the system. Right? And if we just look at our gospel, they don't appear just once, because our gospel is Spiritism, it is taken from the New Testament. It's not taking part from the Old Testament. So sometimes we have the idea that the Pharisees are the bad guy, but this one, in terms of being more generous, more popular, they are the one that were really the detached one. They are really the crème de la crème. All right? They are the one that are supporting what's going on, right, between Herodes and Pilatus. All right? They are the one that is, they are very worried about Jesus being a king, right? Is he a revolutionary? What kind? Because I am the one that really rules the system here. For example, all the sacrifices that we like to do with the animals at the temple, they were the one that had the animals. You have to buy from them the animals. So they have the control. Okay? However, they also disappeared when the second destruction of the temple. You're going to say, hey, but who remained? Because they're Jewish, right? Who remained so far? Because the two disappeared, Pharisees and Sadducees. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go to the scribes that sometimes you say, oh, these are the collectors and these are the interpreters of the laws. They are writing the things. And these guys that are in control, they were, in fact, both attached to the Pharisees and attached to the Sadducees. They are what we call on the wall. In case something happens, I survive because I'm not there and I'm here. Right? It sounds, when you think of our political system, it sounds like this, right? It's still today, right? But anyway, they were there. Some of them, but very few, not so many as the Sadducees, they even belong to the Synedrium. Okay? And being a scribe is not only writing, they are interpreters. So they are authorities, because interpret a verbal law that I receive, turn into written law. You know that sometimes just because of a comma, the sense changes. Or if I change a word, something happened, right? So in a way, they are creating this law that Jesus Christ is going to be receiving, and people are going to be saying, is he against the law or in favor of the law? Right? And Jesus was really above everything, right? But anyway, just for you to have that, they define the laws of the Sabbath, the Shabbat, right? What to do in the day of rest and how to celebrate it. So they were the ones there, right? And by the year 200, the common year after Jesus Christ, all of the things that were oral have already been written. So we have written and oral already reduced to written things, right? They survived. Okay. We have the Essenes. The Essenes is very, in Greek, and the word is not Greek. In fact, the word is one dialect of Aramaic, which is Syriac. right? This was the language that they were talking about, the Assyrians. So they were not the separate ones, they were the holy ones. And their behavior is very, very interesting because they were those that detached from the community. They went to the mountains and they break away relationship. Most of them, they were single. And the few ones that were married, the women, they lived outside the wall because there was a wall surrounding the community. They were farmers. In their community, there was no private property. Nowadays, you say, oh, I work in a kibbutz and I work with agriculture. So it's coming from that time, the idea of let's share. And for them, there is no rule. There is the law of God. That's the Holy One. What the Greeks are saying or the Romans are saying, what the Sadducees are supporting, or no, this is a human thing. This is temporary, right? But they were with a different connection. And they said, in this community of ours, there is no king. There is God. King is something that comes here, take power and rule. So they were sort of revolutionary as well and philosophical in their concept, right? And most of them, they were in a city that's called Qumran, right? And they were only about 4,000. Remember, we were talking about 60,000. They're only 4,000, right? And they disappear, okay? Mainly when the city was attacked. The temple, when the temple was attacked the second time, because there was a Jewish revolt, which was like a rebellion against the Romans. They are not going to be paying. We're not going to be under subjugation. And then at that time, it was, everybody knows the Emperor Nero. Nero sent troops, right? So the second destruction of the temple is because of Romans sent troops. And this city disappeared as well. Let's go to another one, Zealots. Zealots was very interesting because most of them were in Galilee. Jesus was from Galilee, right? And they were really, really anarchists. They were divided by different groups. They were rebellions. They were fighters. They were politically engaged. They had what we know in our Latin world, sicarios. Some of them were paid assassins. And they believed that a Messiah will come to support their cause. Could you imagine the Sadducees, the very top rich ones, and the Pharisees? Is this guy saying that he's from Galilee and he's the king? That he belonged to this group? So Jesus was seen as there's a possible revolution here. The status quo is in danger. Doesn't mean that he belongs to this group, but he's coming from the place where the most of this. And these people here for us is very, very important because when you see films, these people, they refused to be dominated by the Romans, and they went to it's a small mount, Masada. They climbed the mount, and they were about 900. And they said, no Roman is going to kill us. That was the first that we know collective suicide of human being. They committed suicide together. They jumped off, say, they are not going to be killing us. Remember, they're rebellions. Their spirit is like, right? And they, right? And remember that we are in a doctrine of reincarnations as well. I'm just giving this to you because how difficult and complex was the society for Jesus to handle a message, right? Now, if we go a little bit forward, just for us to understand, nowadays, it's going to be like only 2 or 3 minutes. Nowadays, when you think about the Jewish community, ethnically, where they come from, origin, ethnical origin, basically we talk about 3 categories. We have the ones that are coming from the Russia, Poland, Germany. They are very white, blue eyes, right? And they are the Ashkenazi, right? Because that was the word for Germany as well. And the ones that are more darker in Spain, right? The word in Spain in Hebrew is Saffard. They were Sephardi, right? These are the people that were more Arabic looking, but Jewish. They are not so white. And the other ones that were not in these 2 big categories, because these 2 big categories got 8% of all the Jews, they were Mizraim, right? Of other, like foreigners. Okay? And if you think today not to reduce and not to say that everyone is equal, nowadays, at this moment in this society, we have approximately 7 kinds. The same way we have lots of Protestants, and even the Catholic, lots of Catholic churches. We have 7 kinds. Just I'm not going to be talking about each one, but just for us to see that from the most radical, which is the ultra Orthodox, there is Orthodox and modern Orthodox, and they know the difference between themselves, the way they dress, and their rituals. So they don't like to be confused if they do not belong. So do not call me ultra Orthodox because you're ignorant, don't know about my religion. As if I'm just talking about testimony of Jehovah and a Presbyterian and an Anglican, right? So there are things. They have the conservative, reformist, reconstructive, and messianic. There is a group of Jewish that they do have Jesus Christ. They do have Jesus Christ. Guadalajara has a huge temple, and they do have Jesus Christ. So they recognize Jesus Christ as the Messiah. Okay?
The Messianic?
The Messianic, right? It's not one more prophet, but it's just the prophet that we are looking for a revelation. Okay? So let's not generalize saying that it's just one. The purpose of this slide is just this one here. Now, if we go back, if we go to the commandments, I'm not going to be teaching the commandments because everybody knows by heart. But in the Bible, it is on the Old Testament. You don't have the commandments in the New Testament, the Gospel, right? We find in Exodus and Deuteronomy, the 2 books out of 5 that you call Pentateuch. Okay, and I'm going to just explore the first one because the first one, in fact, originally was a bigger one, like almost 2 pages, that we reduce love God above all. This is the reduction form, the encapsulated form that we have, right? But that's the biggest one. It's what's a polytheistic society. So you have to explain why you're not going to be adoring the cow or adoring this God that is Greek or this God that's Roman, right? And I'm bringing the first one here because the first one, this is like almost 3 pages, but I'd like to call attention for you for the very 4 words that are there. This is the word that in our vocabulary was turned into Javé, Jehovah, right? Because we have 4 letters, right? And this word, if we analyze it, in the Hebrew vocabulary alphabet, there is only consonants. We don't have vowels. We write with consonants. Little dots and little like hyphen or a little bit piece of other thing, similar to a comma that surrounds the consonant, are the vowels, but they are not vowels per se. Okay, but I'm just putting this one here because we have to see that this is written different ways, and they are in fact abbreviation. We pronounce this Yahweh. 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 But it means I am what I am. And the Lord tells us in the Bible and Gospel, I am what I am. I'm permanent. I am what I am before Abraham. Okay? So, and in Hebrew, this is also the verb to blow. Have you ever seen lots of pictures that God is blowing life to give you life? This is it's onomatopoeic, like tick tock for the clock. It's so we know that the person is passing away or discarnate. The last and the first. Right? So this is Javé. Okay? In what is there down there, the last one is how we write it. And you know that we read this way, right? Different from our system. I just put it there, and there is a gray thing there because this is small thing that is also a consonant or semi-consonant is iota. That's say that you're going to be paying, everything's going to be cleaned up, the truth is going to be implemented at the little dot and iota. So nothing is going to be out of it. Okay, so that's why I bring this here for you to understand more when you read cyclically the gospel. This is the alphabet. We're not. I just put the three arrows to see these are the letters that compound the tetragram of four letters. Yahweh. Okay, and for you to see how marvelous it is, we know the David star, right? Estrella de David. All the alphabet is inside it. If you see, you have the letter, and what is yellow is in. Goodness me, something's happening here with the micro today. It has life today. It is powerful today, right? The cap, but it's still working. We're going to be grabbing the cap on the floor. Yeah. But anyway, it is contributing here, right? Okay. But this is very funny because all the alphabet is inside the star. And all the letters has a value number. This is what we call gematria, right? Iota is 10, is the 10th letter. It's number 10, right? So for you to clean all, you have to go 10, up to 10. Is that okay for you? It's just a piece of information for us to understand the importance of. Now, these are the vowels. The Greek alphabet has also iota, right? As you can see, iota is on the second line over there. Second line on your left is iota, which is jota, jota or e. Yeah, but disappeared here. Yeah, this is the yellow one, this one here. Yeah, this is the iota. Okay? So after that, we can understand when we have in the gospel, first chapter, do not think that I have come to destroy the Lord prophets. I have not come to destroy them, but to fulfill them. For I say to you, truth, that heaven on earth shall not pass away before everything in law is perfectly fulfilled to one single iota. That is the letter that we read and read, just for you to understand. This minute thing that is there, okay, until there we're going to go cleaning it up and fulfilling it. Is that okay? And then he said, this is Kardec's sentence in the very introductory part of chapter 1. He's going to be saying that there are two kinds of laws. The eternal one and the civil and disciplinary one. Okay? So let's go here. Talion. All right? Whenever we talk about talion, pay attention to the name talion, retaliation. Tal, it means identical. Tal cual. Right? So we do proportionally. But we received the idea that talion was a bad thing. Like you do it and then I do it against you. No. This was a conquest in terms of law. It means that whatever we do, it's going to be fair. What's going to be as compensation and punishment. Because it is limited to what you do. So you're not going to be over punishment. So the talion, it was a good thing in evolution of human history of law. But we think today, as we think that the Pharisees, they're bad people. Oh, this is Italian. This is horrible. It was just to go to the other one awfully. But at that time, it was an advancement. And when Jesus Christ comes, and this was not only in the Jewish society, it was for all the societies Italian, Jesus add, now we are not going to be worried about giving the punishment proportionally to be just. I'm going to be teaching you, do not give back the same, the faces, the cheek. Keep your noble state and teach that there is another way of doing things. So it's revelation. It's conquest. In the past, it was really retribution, retaliation, right? Doing the same. But now it's going to be advancing. It's not, you have already got there, guys. You are not being over punishing people. It is really respectful to the dimension of what has been done. That's why we say eye for eye and tooth for a tooth. So you're no longer doing eye for a tooth and tooth for an eye. You're already in equilibrium. But let's go further, because as human beings, we are in another stage. Is that okay? Okay. Now, this is just gonna go here. This is I'll just this is my Portuguese part of the presentation that I didn't erase. Now, let's understand the Jewish thing here. Okay, the highest document, it is called Tanakh. The Tanakh has three parts: Torah, which is very similar to our Old Testament, very very similar. There is another one that's prophets. It's called Nevin, and there is a one that's this Escrituras. It is the Ketuvim. Is that okay? Now, Torah, general sense means the law, the teachings. Strict sense, very limited sense, it is the Pentateuch, the 5 books of the Bible. Our Bible, all right? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. In these two that are in bold time is where the 10 commandments appear. Because the commandments, they are not in the gospel, and they are not in all of the books of the Pentateuch. Right? Pentateuch means 5. There are 5 books here. Now, the Torah is a little bit bigger than that because we have the prophets and the writings as well. Right? That's part of the Tanakh. Now, this is divided in 24 books, and the first book, which is our Bible of 5 books, is the Pentateuch. So there are 24 books that are very small, and there is a big one, the first one, fat one, that has 5 books, Exodus, Genesis, Numbers, etc., which is the first part of our Bible. Is that okay? Now, there is one thing I'd like you to know. Mishnah is the verbal Torah. It's not written. And they have 613 commandments. What to do with agriculture? What to do when a woman would like to get divorced? What to do when a woman is in her period, the ritual bath? What to do in the kitchen with your utensils? What to do with meat and milk? How you kill an animal? How you prepare your Shabbat table? So there are 613. So when you say that Jesus says, I'm here I'm not here to destroy law, because it was a society that was full of approach of laws. And this is the Mishnah, the verbal Torah, right? But you have also, in the Jewish community, you have the Gemara, which is what the rabbi comment about the verbal thing, the comments. That everything is recorded nowadays. And the two together, the Mishnah and the comments of the rabbi together, they form what we call the Talmud. So Torah, totally written, 5 books, Pentateuch. Talmud, it is Mishnah and Gemara, the verbal one. And it's not enough. The society was very complex. If we get here, I just put the responsa. Responsa means people used to go to the rabbi and state a case because there is no law about this, and what should I do? And then you have the responsa, what the rabbi answered back, right? And then they convert it into a law because the law was not able to cover all the things, right? In addition to that, we have the Mizraim, which is all the stories interpreting the responsa. We have what we call jurisprudencia, right? Which is by analogy. If you have this case, we're going to be treating this case because there is no law, be it verbal or written about it, right? And this was the complexity when you say, I did not come here to destroy the law. So everybody was thinking about their own interest because this law protects me. Is he going to be against this law or not? All right? It's the human interest in that society there. That's okay. Now, in addition to that, you say, whoa, you're talking about Italian, you're about the 10 commandments, you're talking about all these books, and now in the spirit we have 10 moral laws, all right, that are in our conscience. They are not one-to-one correspondence, direct and straightforward with the 10 commandments. But what I'd like you to pay attention here, it is the question, if it is in our conscience, question 621, okay, according to your doctrine, I have here the moral laws. Why should I have revelations if it is inside me? And the Spirit's book says, certainly, they, humanity, they have forgotten and disregarded it. So that's why I have to send somebody always to remember. And it's not I have to send just one person. All right. Remember that society, Jesus comes to 1,000, but 6,000 we have people in Canada, 10,000 have people in Mexico. They have the revelations as well. Everything, I mean, full of revelations coming for men to understand reality. Right? And with the Spiritans, we have the third big revelation, lots of coming together and appearing and telling the primitive Christianism, saying, well, the thing is, guys, 2,000 years have passed, but you have distorted, you have omitted, you have created lots of things, right? Even the Catholic Church, with the councils, they created things, right? For example, the dogma of Maria, Jesus' mother, virginity, is created by a council. From now on, Maria is virgin. It's a creation of a council, 453. Okay? Or the Pope cannot be fallible, cannot make a mistake. It's a creation of a council. So there are lots of, because we create dogmas, we create laws, right? The same way that the Jews there, they create 603 commandments, and they have to have all the response, the very same thing, human being. Okay? This is just for us to know. And then we have these. Now, if you pay attention to what we read in the gospel, which is the third part of the gospel, you're going to be reaching there again. There are 10 laws, but I'm talking about 305 questions to review the laws. 305 questions. So we cannot complain that they have 613, right? But because you need revelation, you bring people back to that's your conscience, that's the innermost reality, that's your innermost connection to the divinity for you to be happy. Okay? Now, when we start the gospel, it means that before chapter 1, I'm going to be giving this to you because I'm just heading for the end. In the preface, I'd like you to pay attention. It's talking about revelation. And this preface is signed by the Spirit of truth. Some people say one person, some people say it's Jesus, some people say it's a collective group of spirits. But anyway, let's read together for you to see. Like an immense army, that's not the first time that we talk about army, because Abraham used to say that the Lord was the Lord of an army, right? Like an immense army setting out upon receiving its orders, the spirits of the Lord, who are the powers of heaven, they have fanned out, like expanded over the entire face of the earth, like falling stars. David, as a prophet, he used to say that all the falling stars was a new revelations to the community because it's bringing light to my way. And we are repeating here 1854, 55, right? And then, like falling stars, they have come to illumine the way and open the eyes of the blind. Symbolical meaning, right? You are blind because you are so much detached from the law with lots of civil laws that you no longer see the truth. And I'm the Spirit of the truth. Right? Verily, I tell you, the time has come to which all things must be reestablished according to their true meaning in the Spirit of truth. Coming back to the true meaning, in order to dissipate the darkness. So we have dark and light again. And Jesus says, I am the light. I'm come here just to illuminate your way, right? To confound the proud and glorify the righteous. So truth has to do with righteousness, has to do with the ones that follow the law, the moral law, the commandment. Right? The great voices of heaven resound, and now you have lots of sounds. If you see the Old Testament, there are lots of revelation through sounds, voice that comes from the sky, right? So the great voice of heaven resounds like trumpet, and the choirs of angels, all these words are sounds, right? Have assembled together. Men and women, we invite you to the divine concert, again, sound. May your hands take up the lyre, sound again. May your voices be as one. And like a sacred hymn, sound again, and vibrate from one to the universe the other. You have books by Andrea Luiz that we have singing and revelations with singing. Messengers, there is a scene that says, wow, what is that? That let's say that what he is hearing is far above any symphony that Mozart has ever composed. You see the importance of the message being repeated and revealed to different people in different times. Men and women, brothers and sisters, whom we love, we are here. It's here, not higher. Here, it's my mistake. It means like 2 o'clock in the morning. Besides you, love one another also, and say from the bottom of your hearts in the obedience to the will of your Father who is in heaven. Lord, Lord. Whenever you say Lord, Lord, you're humbly saying, I need help. I need a spirit of truth. I need a Holy Spirit. I need a consoler. Because I by myself, I cannot do it. So once we say, Lord, Lord, Jesus, Jesus, we open our communication immediately to the invisible world. Just by humbling, appealing to something higher. It means that I believe that I'm not self-sufficient. My ego has get its position to the neutral position. I do need a hand here. Okay? And how do you know? This is just the words that I told you that I highlighted when I was reading. And how do you know that the Spirit truth is the Holy Spirit and is the consoler? If we go to the gospel, we have, if you love me, keep my commands, and I will ask the Father, and he'll give another advocate in some Bibles and gospel, some helper, another way, some consoler. We have to say, Lord, Lord, Jesus, Jesus. And this comes. This, it is what is in Greek is called parakletos. We're going to go there, right? And the last part here, it repeats again, the help, the console, the Holy Spirit. So the three things are the three names of this voice that tells me what is right, of this light that shows me what's right? If you see here, parakletos is, when you get the Bible in Greek, it's not helper, consoler, or advocate. It is parakletos, what is there written. Parakletos is the one that consoles, the one that educates, the one that intercedes, the one that exhorts, the one that guides us, right? And they are, who are they? The just, and the prophet says, glorify the just, the righteousness. Who are they? The sanctified one. Who are they? The purified one, the glorified one, right? I'm just finishing here. These are the words that you see in the Old Testament that is similar to this, to the what we have here in the gospel preface. We have army, we have legion, we have phalanx, we have Pleiades, which has to do with the stars, right? Lord of the army calls the star by name, right? And dissipates the darkness. These are words in the Pentateuch that here in the gospel preface, they are repeated by the Spirit truth, right? It's not, so that's the last slide I'm going to come to. Jesus adds something that the other laws was not telling. He's just saying, come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, you're suffering. We have to say, Lord, Lord, Jesus, Jesus, and I will give you the rest. Take my yoke upon you. This is what the animal thinks, just to guide the animals, but mine is very light, is educational, is teaching, is not punishing, right? For I am gentle and humble in heart. I'm not tyrannic. I'm not authoritarian, right? And you will find the rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Of course that his burden is light because he is all virtue. What makes us heavy is passion, mistakes, wrong choices. Whenever we are purified, glorified, we are light, right? We have volitions. We are not attached to this, okay? So with this in mind, let's have our prayer here. And we're going to be starting very simple with our Father in heaven. Hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespass, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. The farthest I go away from your law, the closest I am to what is erroneous, mistake, and evil. Bring us back to the rectitude and righteousness. Bring us back to your law, the law that Jesus came to make it clear, and Spiritism, as the third revelation, came to make it even clearer and clearer with lots of testimonials of spirits, providing us vivid examples of after terrestrial life circumstances, some of them very bad because we have gone through the wrong way, exercising mistakenly our free will, and some of them very, very pleasant, pleasing, and glorious. Give us discernment to do the right choice, to do the right choosing, so be it. Amen. Thank you so much.
Afraid to touch it. Thank you so much, Carlos, and thank you for your presentation, your presence, and the way that you educate us in the gospel so that everybody knows Carlos is from another center, but he belongs to Becerra. So thank you. He announced earlier, and I'm going to repeat it for those that came later. We are having a spiritist play in which he is one of the characters, and our own friend Jorge Aguilar. Also, it's going to be on a Saturday night, October 5th at 7 p.m., right here, live on stage. And we invite you. There will be a $5 donation for the house. It's not for the company. What's it called? Nave, the Spiritist Theater. We also want to tell everybody that today we have lunch, and lunch is, let me see if I could translate, shredded pork